Well, for those of us who watch a lot of football, you will know that in the last month they've changed the rule about holding the ball. It seems like it doesn't exist anymore. Unless it's a run-down tackle, then you might get it. Now, I think to myself, why has this happened? We know that Steve McBurney, who the ex-umpire, is going to join the umpiring as part of that, but really what should be a free kick? I mean, the commission are the only body that can change rules, but when you talk about interpretations, who is talking about that from the top? And I'm talking not the commission, I don't think, but whether it's Andrew Dillon or Laura Kane or that whole department, what are they asking the umpires to do? Because what we know is that high tackle above the neck is about 1 in 5 get paid. Push in the back, which is still a rule, that's about 1 in 10. And now they've decided, because I vote for the ball carrier, so I'm quite happy for the leniency to be with the ball carrier. But right now, even I'm thinking, how come that wasn't holding the ball? So you think something's changed. Why has it changed? Who's instigated the change? And I think it must be outside the umpires department. When it's the whole umpiring fraternity are doing it, then they are being told to, this is the way we want the game to be umpired. So I always think, we got confidence. Andrew Dillon, Laura Kane, whoever else is in that department, Josh Marnie, have we got confidence of them to run the game in an umpiring sense?
And do you?
No.
Because of the whole
They might. I'm not saying they're not. I asked the question because it's all about we. We do this, we do that. But you know the umpiring department is told how we want the game to be umpired, what the rules are. But also I would have thought, Jimmy, what the interpretations are, because it's as much about interpretation as the raw watching the rule book.
Breaking down the tackle versus, the tackler versus the tacklee. Yeah. What part frustrates you the most? Is it the execution of the tackle, like the in the back or high, or is it the disposal of the person with the footy, like the time they have?
I'm on for the first bit, that the guy who's got the ball in his hands, that because they changed the rule that if you contribute to the high contact, the umpires should ignore it. Well, they ought just ignore it all, because you may have contributed by dropping your body height by 3 inches or something like that. So we've made it easy for the tackler. That's what I'm saying. And the same within the back. They don't pay that. So I'm for making it easier for the bloke with the ball, harder for the tackler. The game's gone... I might be in a minority here because it seems like the majority want us to be harder on the player with the ball. But what I do know is the holding the ball decision is much more lenient this last month than it was in the first month of the year.
Well, Steve McBurney started a week ago, and I'm intrigued to see whether that's actually taken place behind the scenes as well. I'll ask the question, Lee. I want to know whether it actually is the way it's playing out behind the scenes and whether the umpires are adjudicating key decisions based on those metrics. Let's go to the... I love that Lips and Lethal lead. Let's go to the SCG yesterday, where the Sydney Swans were far too good for the GWS Giants. And, Jimmy,
yes,
it wasn't good enough from the Giants, was it?
No, the Swans were excellent. I think the bad loss against Richmond probably has us not talking enough about how good the Swans have been. The ball use is excellent. They're well balanced. Heaney might get another vote. Goulden was fantastic. But for me, on the Giants, on the flip side, I think it was just a sloppy day and a lack of attention to detail. Now, when you're at the pointy end and you want to be challenging for top fours and preliminary finals and all that sort of stuff, it's about attention to detail that separates sides in wins. This is Callum Brown. Now, he's been reported, but that was a 666 rule infringement. It cost the Giants an actual goal here with 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. It's all about the little margins. We have reports for tripping and striking. Contested possession was horrible. They got beaten by inside forward 50s by over 20. And they didn't adjust the conditions. And no wonder the coach is losing his mind, saying, one job to do.
That's over the 666.
That's over the 666. Yeah. This is James Rowbottom. Show some respect to him. Look how much space he has got here. He can jog over to the stoppage, even have a front and square, lands in his lap, goal, and Giants players going, who's got him? It's the attention to detail. I know they're not all...
The banner, Jimmy.
Get the spelling right. This is a whole of club
Even the cheer squad.
You all cop it, which means I'm copying it as well. But I know that doesn't relate to on-field, but it's just a general, sense across the club that if everyone is pushing in the right direction, attention to detail, focus day to day, that's elite sport at its very top.
Lee, how did the Swans cut them up?
Well, they just were doing it so well. I mean, Rampy was back and he seemed to do a good job. He was playing on Hogan for the majority of the game. So, geez, he can do a lot of things. But anyway, the defence is always solid. They're hard to score against that midfield group, the Heaney and Goulden and players like that, a whole group of them. And Hayward's probably been their most underrated player, I would have thought, in the forward line, but they just have been a very good and a great club for the whole century. You know, they've played in 17 of the last 20 final series. Equalisation doesn't apply to Geelong and the Swans. They just stay up there all the time.
Yeah, what's happening with Hawthorn and Richmond makes it even more amazing what the Swans and what Geelong are doing. Just a quick one on Callum Brown. He's been offered 3 weeks from the MRO. Jimmy, are you going to challenge this at the tribunal?
Oh, I'm not sure at this stage because I think it only came through about an hour or two ago. So once everyone sits down, but it'll be a difficult one because McCartan went off with a concussion and we know how the AFL is acting on that. But Leigh, I know you and I are the same. We've spoken to a number of football managers in our time in radio. There's still question marks from people at AFL and what would you like the players to do in those circumstances?
Bump, Leigh, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's close. Well, that's closer to an accident than careless. And that's the problem. We are now getting, I mean, there's nothing deliberate. Deliberates are gone. No one does anything deliberate. But careless will get you suspended. And that is probably because his shoulder hit the other guy's head and he's been knocked out and got concussed. He'll probably get his 3 weeks. But it's like, this is really interesting to me. I was at this game. It was like two players running from the opposite directions. Now, what are they supposed to do? It's almost supposed to do what Wilson did, open yourself up. Wardlaw protected himself marginally. If he'd hit Wilson in the head, 3 weeks. Yeah. So, to be honest, what players have to do is go face first.
Yes.
That's what the rules are saying.
Or hold back a little bit.
Well, they hold back a bit.
Yeah.
That was a disputed ball. He's charging at a disputed ball at the last second.
But we're in a situation where players are a little bit incidental, slightly careless side of accidental. We need heavier fines so you don't get a week, but you might get a $10,000 fine. That just the fines aren't enough to be a deterrent or a punishment for things that are now almost incidental, if not accidental.
Well, Toby Green got a fine of, I think, $2,500 with an early plea, which takes his career financial sanctions to over $31,000. You would like one fine to be $20,000, Leigh. That's at least what you said last time.